about it. And let's start with the biggest story of the day, and that is the news that DeWanna Bonner is no longer with the Indiana Fever. It was reported last night that DeWanna Bonner had no intentions on returning to the Indiana Fever, and then the news broke today that the Indiana Fever had indeed waived DeWanna Bonner. And here is DB's statement.
In the cutthroat world of professional sports, legends aren't just built on championships and statistics. They are forged in loyalty, leadership, and character. For years, DeWanna Bonner was seen as a pillar of the WNBA, a champion, an all-star, and a respected veteran. But in a matter of weeks, she torched that legacy in a stunning act of betrayal aimed squarely at the league's brightest new star, Caitlin Clark. The official story you heard was a lie, a carefully crafted piece of corporate fiction designed to hide a much darker truth. The reality is, Bonner quit on her team mid-season, attempted a brazen power play to manipulate the entire league, and was subsequently blacklisted for it. This is the story of how a respected veteran destroyed her own reputation, lost a fortune, and became infamous as the player who abandoned Caitlin Clark when she needed a leader the most.
So DeWanna Bonner responded. She responded to leaving the Indiana Fever, and at least she didn't go out there and call out the Fever or anything. At least she didn't do that, I guess. But she has, in fact, spoken about leaving the Indiana Fever. And look, at the end of the day, she didn't want to be there. She didn't want to be there. And if you're either with us or you're against us, and clearly you're now against us. And she's gonna walk to the Phoenix Mercury.
The news first surfaced through a sanitized, almost robotic press release. The Indiana Fever announced they had granted DeWanna Bonner's request for a contract divorce. In her official statement, Bonner offered polite, hollow words thanking the organization for the opportunity and vaguely claiming that despite our shared goals and excitement heading into the season, I felt the fit did not work out. She then wished the young team great success as they continued to build. On the surface, it was presented as a professional, mutual parting of ways. But that polite facade was a paper-thin veil hiding a chaotic and selfish betrayal. Behind the carefully crafted words, a storm was brewing in a locker room that desperately needed stability. This wasn't a simple fit issue. This was a deliberate choice by a 36-year-old veteran to abandon a team full of young, impressionable players who looked to her for guidance, leaving them to navigate the suffocating media pressure surrounding Caitlin Clark completely on their own.
By the way, if DeWanna Bonner had requested a trade, like if she requested a trade, this is my only issue with the situation. My issue is not DeWanna Bonner wanting out. My issue is the fact that she took her money and just refused to play. She refused to play. Like, you had fans out there praying for you. Hoping that it wasn't any family issues and saying, like, you know what, like, giving you the benefit of the doubt. I don't want to come off the bench is not a personal issue. Anyway, let's go.
Yeah. Do you kind of detail, I think she talked about how it didn't exactly go how she wanted in that. What exactly that entailed for you guys and her?
Yeah, I mean, obviously DeWanna's a Hall of Famer, future Hall of Famer, and one of the best that's ever played our game. We were really excited when she decided to come here in the off season.
I mean, so was everybody, to be fair. So was everybody. And I do think that was a sign that was made more of a look, see who we can get, rather than look.
When a player's contract is terminated in the WNBA, they are placed on waivers. This is a crucial 48-hour period where any of the other 11 teams in the league can claim the player and, most importantly, their entire guaranteed contract for the rest of the season. For a player of DeWanna Bonner's caliber, a 3-time All-Star with championship experience and a reputation as a proven scorer, getting picked up should have been an absolute certainty. It was essentially a free, high-value asset for any team looking for veteran depth. A contender could have added a key piece for a title run, and a rebuilding team could have gained an invaluable mentor. The clock started ticking on her 48-hour window, but as the hours passed, what followed was a deafening league-wide silence. The 48-hour window closed, and not a single team had put in a claim. Think about that. Every single franchise in the WNBA looked at the opportunity to get a player like Bonner for free and collectively decided, no thanks. This moment stripped away any illusion that this was an an amicable split. This was a league-wide rejection, a massive red flag that exposed just how toxic her exit from Indiana truly was. It was the first sign that this story was far uglier than the official press release let on.
So DeWanna Bonner pulls one of the weakest moves in sports history and quits on the Indiana Fever, not even halfway through this season, man. Your ass couldn't hit the fucking side of a barn and was stinking it up every game, and you're mad about a starting spot or some bullshit? Completely lost all respect for your punk ass, man. And now your preferred destination is the Phoenix Mercury and the Dream. Oh, what? So you can go back with Alyssa Thomas and Scissor? What the fuck kind of bullshit is this? And then all the people that hate Caitlin Clark so much, the Black Clan and Black Clan panders, are sitting here supporting this weak-ass move.
As the dust settled on her humiliating waiver process, the shocking reason for the league's unanimous silence began to leak out from behind the scenes. Bonner was reportedly orchestrating a brazen power play of breathtaking audacity. According to insiders with knowledge of the situation, she was actively contacting other teams and telling them not to claim her off waivers. She was trying to manipulate the entire league system to force her way to one and only one specific destination, the Phoenix Mercury. The sheer arrogance of this move is hard to comprehend. We've seen superstars in their absolute prime, like Jimmy Butler or James Harden, get heavily criticized for forcing their way out of situations they don't like. But Bonner, a 36-year-old player clearly on the back nine of her career, was acting with the leverage of a reigning MVP. She was demanding to pick and choose her next team as if she were a free agent, completely ignoring the fact that she had quit on a binding, guaranteed contract. She wanted to have it both ways, to abandon her current job, but also maintain complete and total control over where she landed next. But her master plan had a fatal flaw, one that would expose the foolishness of her gamble.
Breaking news. You can welcome Ari McDonald back to the team. The Fever said, you know what? We're not even going to bother trying to trade DeWanna Bonner. We're not going to get anything for her. We are going to move on. They have waived her. I believe it saves about $135,000 from what they were paying her, which that is obviously gets freed up. They already had, I think, 30-some thousand already freed cap space, so they signed Aaron McDonald, so now that's 11. I believe they will. It may not happen right away because now that they're back to 11, they may, take some time and look and do some
The financial cost of this stunning miscalculation was just as damaging as the hit to her reputation. By clearing waivers unclaimed, DeWanna Bonner automatically forfeited the remainder of her guaranteed $200,000 contract with the Indiana Fever. That money was hers, locked in. All she had to do was honor her commitment. When she inevitably signed with her desired team in Phoenix, it was for a pro-rated veteran minimum contract for the rest of the season. That deal would net her somewhere in the ballpark of $80,000. Simple math reveals the devastating truth. She voluntarily walked away from over $120,000. This wasn't some savvy business maneuver. It was a massive, self-inflicted financial wound, suffered all because she believed her own hype and thought she could dictate terms to an entire professional sports league. Her pride and her failed power play cost her a six-figure sum, a catastrophic misstep that made her look both incredibly selfish and profoundly foolish in the eyes of league executives, players, and fans. But the damage wasn't just to her bank account or her public image. The real human fallout was being felt by the one person who needed her veteran presence the most, Caitlin Clark. When Bonner first signed with the Fever, she was publicly positioned as the wise, experienced leader who would mentor the rookie phenom through the unprecedented storm of her first professional season. She was supposed to be the locker room anchor, the steady hand to guide Clark and the other young players through the media circus. In early practices and preseason games, Clark was visibly excited to play with her, putting in extra effort to build chemistry and learn from the veteran. Instead of providing that guidance, Bonner showed her, and the entire young roster, that when the pressure mounts and the going gets tough, you can just quit and walk away. It was an act of pure professional abandonment. For one of the first times in her celebrated career, Caitlin Clark was essentially told by a respected veteran teammate that she didn't want to play with her. That's not leadership. It's a deep, personal betrayal of trust that left the league's brightest star and her entire team in turmoil. This leads to the most troubling and controversial question of all. Was this shocking move planned from the very start? The timing is far too suspicious to ignore. Let's break it down. First, Bonner signs a lucrative, high-profile deal with Indiana, allowing her to soak up the unprecedented media attention and spotlight that came with playing alongside Caitlin Clark. For weeks, she posed for magazine covers and played in sold-out arenas, benefiting directly from the Caitlin Clark effect. Then, almost to the day that the Phoenix Mercury magically cleared up enough salary cap space to sign a player of her caliber by cutting another player, Bonner suddenly decided the fit in Indiana wasn't right anymore. It feels less like a spur-of-the-moment decision and more like a cold, premeditated conspiracy. Step 1. Use the Indiana fever for the money and the media exposure. Step 2. Orchestrate a dramatic, self-serving exit the second your preferred destination is ready to take you. If that's the case, it's not just unprofessional, it's a deeply cynical and fraudulent way to treat an organization, its players, and its loyal fan base. Perhaps the most damning evidence of Bonner's misdeeds is not what was said, but what wasn't. In professional sports, there's an unwritten code. Players, for the most part, stick together. When an athlete has a legitimate dispute with a team or feels they've been treated unfairly, you'll often hear other players, especially fellow veterans and union representatives, speak up in their defense. They'll drop subtle hints in interviews or post supportive messages on social media. But in the wake of Bonner's messy exit, there was nothing. A deafening silence fell over the league's entire player base. No one came to her defense. No one endorsed her decision. This absence of support speaks volumes. It's a clear signal that her peers and fellow union members did not see this as a righteous stand for player empowerment. They saw it for what it was, a selfish act that violated the trust of her teammates and undermined the professionalism of the sport they all fight to grow. The silence is a quiet but powerful condemnation. Beyond the personal drama, Bonner's actions have created a dangerous problem for the entire WNBA. Her midseason departure sets a terrible precedent that threatens the very integrity of player contracts. If a respected veteran can simply quit on her team and manipulate her way to a new one with minimal immediate consequences from the league office, what's to stop other unhappy players from doing the same? This could create a domino effect, empowering players to abandon their commitments whenever they're dissatisfied, turning multi-year contracts into meaningless suggestions. This is especially damaging for small market teams like Indiana, who rely on the stability of contracts to build competitive rosters and can't always compete with the glamour of bigger cities. At a time when the WNBA is experiencing explosive growth and fighting for mainstream credibility, having one of its veterans engage in such unprofessional conduct sends a terrible message about the league's stability. It suggests a league where chaos can erupt at any moment, a notion that could scare off potential investors and new fans alike. In the end, DeWanna Bonner got her desired move to Phoenix, but at what cost? She torched her reputation across the league, lost over $120,000 in salary, and will now be remembered not as a champion or a respected veteran, but as the player who quit on Caitlin Clark and the Indiana Fever. Her actions have set a dangerous precedent, suggesting that contracts are merely suggestions and a player's personal wishes can override their professional obligations at any time. In an era of player empowerment, we often celebrate athletes for taking control of their careers, but DeWanna Bonner's story forces us all to ask where the line is between empowerment and entitlement, between fighting for what you want and simply abandoning your commitments. She may have just found that line, and in crossing it so spectacularly, she might have permanently and irrevocably tarnished her own legacy.